You are looking live at the scene right now at Club Q off North Academy, a massive police presence there this morning as investigators process the crime scene. It's with heavy hearts we are here this morning tracking a deadly Saturday night in Colorado Springs. Taking you back to another live look at the breaking news we are following this morning at Club Q, where you can see there is police caution tape up and investigators working this scene and will be for the next several hours. And Josh, this just happened a few hours ago. We're starting to learn more about the victims, the friends, the people that had loved ones there, and realizing that we have at least five people dead right now, 18 injured. A lot to process and a lot of shock. And we are right here with you as we face this tragedy together after a deadly Saturday night here in Colorado Springs. Bart, it's so horrific. It is terrible to see this location targeted and these people just going out for a fun night, having drinks, going dancing, spending time with friends and loved ones. And they've probably done this multiple times only to have it ruined. And the trauma and the lasting stories and what we're going to hear in the following hours, days, and weeks in our community is going to be tremendous. And we just really need to support one another right now. Some of the other heroes, of course, are the first responders, the police officers that were first to get there. And the firefighter response was massive. KRDO News Channel 13's Dan Beatty is live in Colorado Springs to share some of the other stories we are hearing, and we know a lot of ambulances responded, Dan, and they were packing these ambulances with victims to get them to the hospital as fast as possible. It's hard to even put into words the pain our community is feeling right now. It's with heavy hearts we are here this morning following this deadly Saturday night in Colorado Springs. I've been talking to a woman on Facebook as well, made it out, ran home, but the trauma of hearing those shots ring out, that is going to be very lasting. So we just want to make sure our community members feel safe and feel like they have a place to go to grieve. Speaking of some of our other heroes, of course, police officers were the first on scene, firefighters, and the tremendous toll of responding and what went into that. We do want to get right over to KRDO News Channel 13's Dan Beatty, who's been at the scene all morning, and what firefighters had to do to get some of these victims to the hospital is pretty remarkable. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us, we just finished up our 8 a.m. press conference. It's the first time we're hearing from law enforcement since early this morning. Mayor John Suthers was also there. We got an update on some of the victims, and the biggest piece of information was we now know the suspect, a 22-year-old named Anderson Lee Altridge, had two firearms and a long rifle was used. Another big thing we're learning about is the timeline from when the calls for shots fired was reported at 11:56. We know that the first officer was there by 12 a.m. and then the suspect was detained by 12:02. So a very swift operation. A tough interview, Dan. Really emotional to hear Joshua's account, just dancing, thinking it's a fun night. Initially hearing those gunshots, thinking it's part of the music, and then running for his life and locking himself in that dressing room. Hard to process because there are so many stories like that we are going to hear in the next few days. So it is going to be challenging as we start to recount exactly what happened. Our community is still mourning after the deadly shooting that took place at Club Q, an LGBTQ nightclub here in Colorado Springs. The shooting took the lives of 5 people and injured 25 others. All morning, we've been following the latest as we work to learn more about what happened. Derek Rump worked at Club Q for multiple years. His mother, Julia, says he was a kind, loving person who had the heart of gold. She says he was very close with his sister and the whole family and described many of his friends in Colorado as being part of his family. His mother says he was living his dream and always pushed for others to do the same. This, of course, comes after Daniel Aston was also a Club Q bartender. We identified him last night. We're going to have more on his loss and the impact he's leaving behind coming up a bit later in our show. Our city, state, and country all coming together today as we heal from hate. We do have team coverage to bring you the latest here at noon on this tragic situation. KRDO News Channel 13's Jessica Grunling speaks with a hospitalized victim who escaped the bar after being shot.
Thank you for joining us. Of course, we continue to heal from all the hate. A very tough week for us here in Colorado Springs.
And it's going to get harder before it gets easier as we learn more about the victims, the heroes, and of course the suspect. We are right here with you. We're feeling it. We're grieving with you. But of course, we're bringing you the very latest as well. I'm Bryn Carmen. Thank you so much for joining us on GMC. This morning, we're learning more about the charges the suspect in the Club Q shooting may face, as well as why law enforcement can't really say a lot about the case involving the same suspect from last year, an event that happened in the Lorson Ranch area. Really hard to even think about Thanksgiving happening tomorrow, given the circumstances. It's a typical season of togetherness, and now it's a time of mourning. And folks, can't meet there like they've done in the past, but we are told the tradition is going to go on. It's just going to look a little different. This year's meal will be held at Pikes Peak Metropolitan Community Church. The leaders of the United Court of the Pikes Peak Empire, the oldest LGBTQ organization in southern Colorado, says the meal creates a space for people to spend the holiday who might not feel welcome at their own home with their own family. The owner of Poor Richard's downtown says what's getting them through this is grieving together in a place that was not always so welcoming to their community. Inside a bustling Poor Richard's in downtown Colorado Springs, you'll find the Rainbow.
We seem to have attracted many, probably 50% of our employees are LGBTQ+.
Poor Richard's has been a staple for reading, shopping, and eating since the late 70s, and it's one of the first businesses in the area to openly support gay rights. But owner Richard Skorman says it has been a bumpy road the last 45 years, living through a time when Colorado was labeled the hate state.
I never felt it was the whole population, but there were many loud voices. Oh gosh, it was so frightening, really. We were always worried. And it was very sad because we heard a lot of negative things that we didn't feel like it was good for our employees or our customers, anybody to hear. We had people out front with crosses, we had swastikas on our bathroom walls, you know, all kinds of public parts of it that we weren't happy about at all.
Amendment 2 was passed by Colorado voters in 1992. The ballot initiative prohibited the state from enacting anti-discrimination protections for people based on sexual orientation. Skorman says there were several anti-gay issues he worked on while serving as a Colorado Springs City Council member. But there was a major shift when same-sex marriage was legalized in the U.S.
Much brighter and bluer sky era. Mayor welcomes Pride Fest. We paint the sidewalks rainbow. We have public parks. We become a place where I think people feel a lot more comfortable being themselves.
Now, with more pride than ever before, Skorman wants people to know that Poor Richard's will continue to be a place that is open to all. Right now serving as a safe place to grieve with subtle reminders of healing and strength all around.
It's very important that people feel supported in their grief and their anger, and there is a lot of both. And people who come here, we want to welcome with our open arms. Many of us here are feeling the same way. A lot of our employees knew people there or were even there that evening. And so it's just been a big kick in the stomach for all of us. We're all really grieving. You walk around, people sometimes burst into tears.
Poor Richard's is giving away pride buttons and flags, so if you're out doing any holiday shopping this weekend, they are right by the cashier and free for anyone who wants one.